We are brought to you by Tab Touch. Got the touch? Download the Tab Touch app today. Chances are you're about to lose. For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au. Barra, before we look at and unpack the weekend and look forward to a script not even the AFL at its most optimistic could have written, I've got to apologise.
Apologise?
Well, I came along to the waffle on Saturday and I told a group of mates who invited me there for our annual catch-up that I was going to get you over the line. And I fell a toe poke short.
I know. And actually, I just had a text then from Russell Clark of the Perth Football Club, the CEO.
I did catch up with Russell Clark.
Is there an unpaid tab there or something of how much beer did you drink?
Well, we paid for the
When did you leave?
I was late.
Oh, it says here some of the last guests to leave were one G. Quartermain of the West Australian. Is that true?
That might be correct.
What time was that?
Oh, it was late-ish. But no, let's just say there are a couple of players left in that big the lounge you have there and not too many other people. But look, we did our best to put some money back across the bar. And
certainly did.
And solve all the problems of the world, as you do.
Oh, you're so good, mate. Well done. And you were honouring your lost mate too, weren't you, really?
Well, it was part of it, yeah.
Great, yeah.
Jenksy, yeah, it was part of it. And I've got to say, I was watching you in your element, I would say. You couldn't move 2 metres and there were people pulling you up.
Oh, no. Well, it was funny because I'd just been to...
I've still got your pint, by the way. You came over, shouted us around, which I really appreciated. I never saw you again.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. Because I'd been to Port Hedland. It's 30 degrees in Port Hedland.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mate, how good is Port Hedland?
Great spot.
Have you spent much time up there?
Been through it a few times.
I did not realise how good it was. And the foreshore area, the marina.
What were you doing up in Port Hedland?
I was doing some awards for BHP, Long Service Awards.
Okay.
Right, for my friends up there. And stayed in the BHP accommodation there, which I thought was outstanding. Had a double bed and everything. Microwave, television. I don't know if everyone gets that, but it was bloody fantastic, the donga.
A microwave and a television. You're not selling it to me at this point?
Mate, I'm not sure. Do the FIFOs all get that, or is that a regular thing?
Yeah, that's a standard FIFO room. But the thing is, so you're in a FIFO room. That makes sense.
Yeah,
I was going to say, whoever, if you're not a FIFO, who would ever use a microwave when you're in a hotel? Have you ever used one?
No, well, that's a good point, actually. I used an iron, so that was something different.
Jeez, that's rare too.
Because I had to...
flimsy little ironing boards they have.
No, nothing flimsy about BHP.
No,
I can tell
not
you,
at
mate.
all.
It's unbelievable. So Karratha, magnificent, and Port Hedland. I tell you what, it's worth going to have a look. And they've got this new marina there that they've built for the blokes who love fishing.
In Dampier?
No, this is in Port Hedland.
Oh, okay.
And there's a yacht club there now, and spectacular. I'm telling you, it's worth a look. The foreshore area, there's a great cafe there. And we were on the cafe, one of the big ore carriers came in, pulled in by the tugs. The tugs started shooting off water. I didn't know if they knew we were there or what, but it was actually amazing, mate. Have you seen the size of those boats?
They're huge.
Fantastic. I tell you, BHP, they do respect.
You've dropped about 4 BHPs.
Mate, it's their town, I think. I don't know. I'm not actually sure how it works.
A remarkable weekend of football coming up, but some bad news locally today. So Freo have to rely on a couple of teams. So have to rely on Hawthorn losing to North Melbourne, the Western Bulldogs losing to GWS, or Carlton losing to St Kilda, one of those three. And, of course, they have to beat Port Adelaide on Sunday. Taken a bit of a hit already. No Josh Treacy, so he will remain sidelined with that posterior cruciate ligament injury, hoping to get him back for week 1 of the finals, and not forgetting there is a bye after the final round. So in this instance, that's going to help him, should they make it through. And also, Sean Darcy's doubtful still as well. So
just take us through, because I have been in meetings all day long. Just take us through the Josh Treacy thing.
Well, he's got it's a damaged posterior cruciate, but it's not torn. So
hasn't he hurt himself again, though?
It's really sore. I'm not sure what the latest is.
I thought there was a suggestion that he'd actually hurt himself again. So whilst you're speaking, mate, I might actually have a look at that, because if that's happened, that's not a great thing, is it?
No, not at all.
And as you said, Sean Darcy, a test, no Pearce and Treacy again.
Now, clearly Port Adelaide are going to be without Dan Houston. We don't know how long they will be without him for, but if it's 4 weeks, it means won't be playing again this year. If it's 5, if it's 4, he gets through to the grand final. Should they make it that far? And if it's 5, no GF. And there's a lot of talk about him going back to Melbourne. I think he'll get 5. So at least. So I think he may have played his last game for Port Adelaide. Very interesting weekend coming up. But I guess
let's go through it. Who's the most likely? I mean, Hawthorn look a bit beaten up, but they got North Melbourne in Tassie.
Hawthorn is a bit beaten up. No Will Day. He's really sore boy. Scrimshaw's a bit of a finger injury. Of course, Hawthorn kicked 9 goals in the first quarter against Richmond, but really didn't do much after quarter time. So at some stage, the Hawks are going to run out of petrol, but I'm not sure. I just smell a bit of a rat this weekend, Barra. It is a banana skin game. I know North got flogged by nearly 100 points, and everyone will say you're an idiot, but I just think Clarko coaching them, Hawthorn, let's see what happens. But I think the most likely is Carlton v St Kilda for me. Western Bulldogs, GWS. GWS did beat them in Canberra last start, but they're pretty hard to beat in Ballarat.
Yeah,
Ballarat.
So the game's in Ballarat.
Yeah, so that's
but that is a fluky ground, isn't it? Very windy.
It is.
It's almost underground, isn't it?
As is Launceston, where Hawthorn's playing North Melbourne. But the one I think is most likely, Carlton St Kilda. Now, very impressive backs to the wall win by Carlton over West Coast. But in the last 8 weeks, Barra, they've won 3 games. Richmond, North Melbourne, West Coast Eagles. They haven't really beaten anyone. McKerno, Mackay, do they come back? We're not sure at this point. Looks like Mitch McGovern's also got a hamstring injury, so he may not be available. And St Kilda are playing some really good footy. Very impressive second half against Geelong at the weekend. So I think that's the most likely. Interestingly, it'll be about 20 minutes that game wraps up before Fremantle v Port Adelaide begins. So you're either going to be a live game at the last minute, or you might already be a live game if Hawthorn loses or the Bulldogs. There'll be people driving up from the country, Barra, who won't know when they jump in the car whether it's going to be a live game or not by the time they get there.
So do they do a Yui?
No, you go and support your footy team. Go and support your footy team.
Or would you go to, what's the pub right next
Camfield.
door? The Camfield, perhaps? Start there and just ease your way into the game?
Just accept that you're not playing finals and go and support your team.
It's a dead rubber.
Yeah, but you finish on a good note.
That would be horrible.
Now, there's also
I honestly hope that one of those teams wins. I actually think GWS is the most likely.
Okay.
I'm not sure about the Saints. I mean, fancy the Dockers having to rely on Ross Lyon again.
Yeah.
Last week, Jesse Hogan put him to the sword, their own player. Brendan Cox, he'd want that game over again too, wouldn't he? 6.
Player Jesse. Yeah, I know.
Goals.
Yeah, it was 6 goals. Looked like he had a bit of a hamstring. He kept clutching his hamstring, Brennan, but I'm not sure what was going on there.
Losing Pearce has been just
I thought they were really competitive, though, Barra, the Dockers. I thought they had a crack. It was just you lose your bookends. You don't lose them, they didn't have them. But Pearce at one end and Treacy at the other, and you look at Sam Taylor at one end and Jesse Hogan at the other. It's so important to have that finishing and that stopping ability. And that's really was the difference between the two teams. Only 9 points.
Yeah, they weren't disgraced. And I tell you what, that Reedy,
he looked all right, didn't he?
Would J-Lo be kicking himself that he didn't bring him in for the Essendon game instead of?
Yes. Yeah, but everything in hindsight, we're all geniuses, aren't we? But yeah, I
that's
think
what
so.
Coaches get judged on.
It was an interesting choice because he's been big. Yeah, I know he's been big on. We're a 2 ruckman team. And then they didn't go with 2 ruckman for that game. So it was a really puzzling decision, that one.
And seeing Reedy in action against Kieran, what's-his-face?
Kieran Briggs.
Yeah, I actually thought he showed a bit. And I'm surprised he hasn't been looked at. I mean, they've always had, when Darcy was out, why hasn't he been looked at earlier? Taberner. See, yeah.
He's a mature age, big boy. Yeah, I agree. He's certainly showed enough to indicate he belongs at AFL level. So you'd be wondering if he's going to have a look around. He's only just got there, though, hasn't he? So you don't really... It's a bit early to be looking around.
Brayshaw played out of his brain, 40-odd possessions.
Mm-hmm.
Sarong was super.
Yep.
Frederick was good. Luke Ryan, would you have tried Luke Ryan on Hogan? Why didn't they just have a go at Luke Ryan on him?
Because you want him to have him as the spare always, don't you? That's his role.
The other bloke's kicking 6.
Yeah.
Hogan.
Yeah, he's a very...
and
well done to Jesse Hogan, 67 goals, 10 ahead of Charlie Curnow. So he's wrapped up the Coleman and he's a lock for an All-Australian jumper. So well done to Jesse Hagan. We're all really pleased about that.
So that brings me to Shai Bolton.
Yes.
Or it's actually Shai Bolton, isn't it?
Shai Bolton.
I think it's
It's
Shai Bolton.
Shai Bolton wants to explore a trade, Barra, as opposed to I want to move. Well, let's just call it what it is. I want to move. So what's he worth? Is he worth 2 first rounders? Because Freo have 3.
There's no one worth 2 first rounders, is there? Ali Reid.
I reckon he might be worth a first rounder and something else. Maybe a second rounder. But I'd be getting him into that team. I think he might be the missing piece. I've talked this up for a long time. I think someone high, half forward, can run through the middle, puts bums on seats too, is really exciting to watch. Gets home, young family, building a young family. He's still got a lot of footy ahead of him. I like it. So
I reckon the thing I like about it is it's not a Tim Kelly play where you're trying to save the club and go. It's the last piece, really, isn't it? It's not this is the big master stroke that's going to get us to a premiership. It's the last key player that they need, a small forward. Sonny didn't play on the weekend. Will he play this weekend? It makes it hard. Fifey, what about Fifey? Is Fifey going on? There's still talk about.
There is a cackle about that he may not be.
So do you reckon that's a possibility?
Yeah, everything's a possibility when you get to his
I think if Bolton,
age in footy.
Darren, his dad, played a couple of games for Fremantle, didn't he? And was a great player at Peel.
Yep, he was.
He's still got 4 years to run on his contract. And you're right, his manager, Anthony Vanderwielen, is saying, look, we've just said, look, why don't you explore it, see what Fremantle toss up, and if it happens, he would like to go home. But the best thing I like about it is that if it fails or it doesn't work as well as they hoped, it's not a disaster. You know what I mean? So I don't reckon there's any downside for Fremantle.
A lot of electricity in that forward line in terms of half forwards. So Michael Frederick, Sam Switkowski. So there's depth there already, but this bloke, you can run him through the middle as well. He's a beautiful kick of the footy, and they probably need that Freo out of the guts.
Yeah, he'd look good in purple. Here you go, mate. Here's Shai Bolton. You ready?
It's Shai Bolton. It's Shai Bolton. It's Shai Bolton.
So it's Shai Bolton.
Okay, that's me.
Shai Bolton, right?
Okay.
Because there's a few people on the news, saying Shai Bolton.
So you just mentioned Fife. Let's take our hats off for 2 players who have retired today. Dylan Grimes at Richmond and Liam Shiels at North Melbourne. What do they have in common, mate?
Premiership players.
3 premierships each, so to be sneezed at. Liam Shiels has got to the point where he can't go on. He's given it everything he has. And Dylan Grimes, I'm sure, would like to, but he's just got that back injury that he can't shake off. Hasn't played much footy this year. Both have just had great careers, so congratulations to the 2 of those. Bit of other news around. Christian Petracca. Interesting Melbourne at the moment. They have had a horror season. It just won't go away, that talk. He's a watch. But I think what isn't, just the body language of Gary Lyon on the couch last night, I think, and he's very closely connected to that club. Looks like Jack Viney is definitely staying and invested.
5 years. Just signed a new deal.
There you go.
Yep.
And I think, he did flag that after the game. And but it's Clayton Oliver, who looks like he's invested, not only invested, but let's be honest, turned up overweight, unfit, and he's committed to spending his off-season getting himself in the best shape he can. So if he can do that, that helps probably convince Christian Petracca that, maybe I'll hang around. Well, he has to hang around if Melbourne want him anyway because he's contracted. So
5 years. Do they go forward with Goodwin?
I think they do at the moment. I think you give at least one more year at it, don't you?
And Richards and Richmond.
Yep.
So Dylan Grimes, if Shai
and Liam Baker. Let's not forget Liam Baker either. So could be headed home to West Coast.
Daniel Rioli and Graham.
So Daniel Rioli goes to the Gold Coast. Jack Graham comes to West Coast.
It's like an exodus.
Yeah, but
the last bloke out turned off the light.
So here's the thing about it, though. If they can get as many as 5 first-round draft picks, okay, so they're talking this upcoming draft up as quite deep for midfielders, like really good elite midfield talent. So if they can get 5 first-rounders, I reckon they just beat the Tasmanian bump.
Right.
Because there's going to be a lot of
So they're
draft picks
biting the
handed
bullet.
out to Tasmania. But I think they bite the bullet and get into the draft. I mean, they'd want Bolton to remain. But if you can get great value for him, then surely you just recommit now and go through a couple of rough years, beat the Tasmanian bump. I reckon's in the worst position for that Tasmanian bump.
I thought the Tigers.
No, not anymore. I reckon they can get ahead of it. Collingwood. The ageing list. Yes, I'm concerned for their list now, for their list management ahead of this Tasmanian bump.
Will they really have any dramas?
Well, have a look at the list
they're
and the age of it. Have a look at the age of the list. So, I mean, I know they've got some elite youth, but you need more than that. And I think the nuts and bolts of their list, I think you're going to lose 5 or 6 players in the next few years. So, they've got some work to do, I think.
And looks like at Eagles training today, we didn't see Barrass. So,
yep.
What is happening with Tom Barrass?
Well, see, he's another
Barrass.
So that's the other thing.
Get his voice of him, please.
Barrass. That's the other thing. I mean, if you look at where they're at, and they need to get into the draft, don't they? So you could possibly get a first rounder. Well, you're going to get it. You'll ask for a first rounder from Hawthorn, and Sam Mitchell has already indicated he's prepared to trade for experience this year because they've been through the draft process. So that you just got to get into it at the stage, particularly where the Eagles were at. Now, what did you read into? Let's be honest, it was a pathetic performance from West Coast at the weekend, sending off Andrew Gaff.
They got a terrible record.
Jamie Cripps 150th game.
They've got a terrible record in recent. I mean, they've had a terrible record in recent years. Full stop.
Yep.
But even in milestone games, I mean, Bunga-Hurn. I remember Dom Sheed had to apologise to Bunga-Hurn for such a bad.
Do you reckon they
performance.
would have apologised to
Gaffey
at the weekend?
Well, I know that I heard Elliot Yeo on 96 FM saying that he definitely felt heavier carrying him off when you lose. Him and Jack Darling were carrying him off, and he tried to crack a gag like you put on a bit of weight, mate, and it didn't cut any swagger with the G-man because obviously not happy going out.
I suppose what we're in putting a line through West Coast, but that was one of the great performances this year from Patrick Cripps, wasn't it?
Oh, mate, I asked Scully last night how you couldn't stop him, and they were having their review today, so it'd be interesting to see what come out of it. But he was a human wrecking ball. Have a listen to this, though. Carlton with the third youngest team of the round.
Yep.
11 guys with 45 games or less, 2 debutants, 1 guy who'd played 1 other game, and they had Cripsy with 35 touches, 10 clearances, 8 inside 50s, 12 score involvements, and Wiedering, 12 intercepts.
He's a good player for
He just killed poor old Oscar. What was going on there?
And not
I
forget,
know it's bad delivery, but jeepers.
And not forget, well, he's a very good player, Wiedering, but
He just
not forgetting.
pantsed him.
So you give some credit to Michael Voss here. He'd lost Mackay and Curnow, needed to rebuild that forward line overnight, and turned to Brodie Kemp. I think he'd kicked 2 goals in his entire career, puts him at full forward, kicks 4. So it was a master stroke.
But obviously the Kemp play was to shut down McGovern.
Yep.
So his job was to make McGovern accountable. Not only did he make McGovern accountable, he kicked 3 goals.
Yeah.
It's like, it was staggering.
Still
Did you see the size of him?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, mate, it is unbelievable that could happen.
Spent a fair bit of time. Harry Edwards was around him as well. So,
Mate, his job was McGovern. I know it. And they had 20 tackles inside 50. This is Carlton, right? And they had 16 in the last 3 weeks. And Kemp does that. Moya kicks one of the great first goals of all time.
It was a good goal. Yeah.
Lord.
There's a lot of energy about them, wasn't there?
Mate, who are these blokes that spanked the Eagles? Honestly, that's a monster game.
So
I don't know what it means for Carlton or whether it helps them out.
Well, it certainly helps them out because they're back in the 8.
Yeah, but if it kicks, does it kick-start them or they've still got massive injuries?
Better than losing and not being in the hunt. So it certainly does. What does it mean for Jared Schofield?
Not good, mate, as you know. That's taken the shine right off. And then having to go to Geelong.
So what do they need to produce against Geelong this week for Jared Schofield to get this job?
Well, I don't know if he tactically made a blue by saying that they didn't follow instructions. So because that reflects on the coach. Why? I asked him on the news. I said, why didn't they follow instructions? Well, and I think he might have been talking about you know who.
Who's you know who?
Who's the you know who?
Oh, Harley Reid.
Yeah.
Well, he hasn't not playing a defensive side, is he? So that's the area of his game he needs to improve on.
And probably not a great tactic to point the finger at you-know-who.
Why?
If you're trying to get the job.
Oh, well, you've got to...
There's only one bloke you've got to impress, really.
I think,
two blokes, Don Pike
yeah, that's
and
right.
Ali Reid.
I think since Jared Schofield's been there, I think they've been pretty good. The two outliers are the St Kilda game and that Carlton performance at the weekend. So you'd like to see them go. It's a horrible place to go if you're trying to regain.
You know they don't fly straight there either.
They go through Melbourne.
Yeah, get on the bus, go down there, come
Go
back.
to Avalon and then jump on a bus.
They used to be Avalon.
Okay.
That's that because that's closer, but that's not. No, since COVID, it's flying to Melbourne, jump on the bus. What's that, an hour?
I would, mate.
How long does Sleepy Hollow?
It's an hour. It's an hour, mate, and I know it well because I've done it 1,000
I
times.
know, that's why I asked you.
In my Safari yellow Datsun 180B named Lethal.
Is that right? That's good. When you're coming back from Geelong after getting pantsed, what's that like?
No, not flash.
Well, just imagine getting on a plane with corks and not being able to drink.
tell
The
you-
season's over. You shouldn't be drinking. And you'd be wanting to fly
shouldn't be
straight.
drinking and your season's over.
Yeah, like on the way back.
Okay.
It's not a great look when you get
Well,
pantsed by cats and you start.
I got a tip.
Sculling.
I got a tip
Bourbons.
from the last cafe, or it used to be anyway. As you're driving out of Geelong, on the left-hand side, they sell some beautiful schnitzels.
Schnitzels, really? On the left-hand side,
Yes,
on the
just-
way in or
No,
out?
as you're going out, just on the
mate,
left.
My mouth's watering now.
So Geelong, West Coast boys.
Italian chicken schnitzels or...
Oh, yeah.
or
They're
plain
hot
veal?
chicken
Veal
schnitzels.
schnitzel.
No, hot chicken schnitzels, mate.
Hot chicken schnitzels.
Oh, they're beautiful.
No, veal schnitzels.
What else? I'll tell you the other one was GWS. It was, as I said, it was a close game, but we've talked up the Dockers' performances, but and Jesse Hogan, but Brent Daniels,
Yeah.
one of the
He's got to be all Australian.
second
doesn't he?
highest ranked game for 2024, and I think you're right. Has to be in the All Australian frame.
Just
Uses the ball
right next to
beautifully.
Jesse Hogan.
Yeah, well, uses the ball beautifully.
Mate, he's been super.
Tough, durable, and we underrate him?
Tommy Green might have to be in there as well.
Yeah, has had a good year.
Eh?
And the scary thing, I suppose, for opponents is Toby Green. Okay, against
He didn't fire. Or kicked two.
Yeah, but against the Dockers, when he had to, he finds a way to kick one,
Yeah.
doesn't he? But he hasn't really been very consistent the last second half of the year. So there's scope for improvement for them.
I tell you what, scope for improvement at Fremantle too. Nathan O'Driscoll showed a bit when he came on.
He did.
Mate, he actually made a difference.
Gives them
Could
really
have kicked
good
that goal.
penetration, doesn't he, with that left foot? Beautiful left foot kick.
I don't think they should have subbed Fifey though. Do you reckon? That's I don't know.
Well, you've got to bring someone on.
You just worry about that back line with Hogan can do that kick six. Yeah, and the pain that could be inflicted if they miss the 8. Did you see Josh Rochelle?
See, where did you pick Freo, by the way?
Yeah, well,
We'll get
this
on to
is
Josh in a
interesting.
moment.
This is
See, I
interesting.
didn't pick him in my 8. I had him 10th.
I'm glad you raised that point because I actually I was thinking the same thing because I had a look at the Fox tipsters, right? There's 21 of them. And it's like Gary Lyon, Jonathan Brown, who else is on Fox? Pavlich, all their big guns, right? Rashudo. Anyway, so 21 of them all had a vote. Only 2 of the Fox people tipped the Dockers. This is pre-season.
To finish in the 8.
Finish in the 8.
Who were
Only
they?
2. And it was Pav
Yep.
and Kath Lonan.
Yeah.
Which obviously big Docker person.
Yep.
So the rest of them. So when you look at it, Quarters, if they do miss the 8, it is not. It's not a disgrace.
No, I don't think it's a
not
disaster.
a tragedy. It's not a disaster because most people in the footy world didn't think they'd make the 8, and that next year would be their year. And
Well-
I know that problem is they in that number 2 spot is a killer. It's like the death seat.
You've teased.
Whoever's gone into number 2 is just. Well, it happened to Port Adelaide now. It happened to Carlton. It happened to Fremantle. The slide.
One of the great teasers in recent history, isn't it? It's a tease. That's what they've done.
The Dockers
Yeah,
tease.
they've shown the Dockers fans.
The
they've
equivalent
shown,
of what would be the equivalent
well,
of?
you know what
Which
it's
sort
the,
of tease?
You know what's the equivalent?
Strip tease.
While we're the strip tease. While we're there, mate. Congratulations to Jack Carrington Jones with 8 correct in the Quarters and Barra tipping competition. The overall leader, Lockie Montgomery, on 137. I'm not catching him. I got 5 right. I'm 128.
What did
You
I
got
get?
6 at the weekend, 119. So you've closed the gap a little bit. You've still got.
Yeah,
well, you can't get me.
I jumped straight out of the Eagles at one stage there because I realised, hang on. Okay, they're undermanned, but Carlton's got much more to play for. And the first 15 minutes, the Eagles they didn't turn up.
Yeah. No, they didn't.
And they were playing catch up
First,
from then on, weren't they?
I thought maybe a little patch in the first quarter and the first couple of minutes after half time, they looked like they were having a crack. But beyond that, Brisbane, what a game to cough up. Slid out of the top 4. That's going to be really costly, Barra. To go down by a point to Collingwood, who, let's be honest, are banged up and not playing with all that much confidence, and probably got a bit out-coached at the weekend. The use of Dacos got them back into the game, and Zorko maybe not as accountable as he should have been. So that was a really interesting result for mine. I just don't know what to make out of Geelong. Great performance by St Kilda in the second half. Geelong is sitting in 4th position, Barra. Can you see them winning the flag?
I think if you finish top 4, you have to. I mean, it's weird. Do you think they should have finals in Geelong?
Oh, not if it's against a side like, okay, so Sydney, well, look at the top 4. There's 3 non-Victorian teams. So,
But if they were 5th, should they, and they're playing Carlton, should they have that game in Geelong?
No.
No.
I think as many people as possible should be able to go to the game. So you go to the G where you can fit 100,000 in.
So the Vics are a little bit stiff there, aren't they?
But
Geelong,
they play there a lot though, Barra. It's not like it's an unfamiliar venue for them, so I'm not so sure.
Yeah, the Cats, they're fluky. That Humphreys looks like a good player, doesn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of talent out there, mate. Who have you got right now? Oh, by the way, the other player we should mention at the weekend was Sam Darcy. 7 goals. So they get through. They win at the weekend. They beat GWS in Ballarat. They could actually finish top 4. But can you see are they the most likely? Let me put it this way: are they the most likely team from outside the top 4 to win it?
Well, at this stage, I haven't got them beating the Giants in Ballarat.
Okay.
So that means they won't even play finals.
Okay. So you've got them out.
Well, if they lose to the Giants and Fremantle win, they're out.
I've got them winning this week. Carlton St Kilda's the one for me that's a little bit.
So you're saying Carlton's out?
I am.
And Fremantle's in?
Well, depending if they can beat Port, which is no given.
I know that, mate. Well, you're saying that they're going to beat Port.
I'm saying it's going to be a live game. I think it'll be a live game.
Are they going to beat them?
Yes, it's at home.
Right. Okay, so they're in.
They sneak in, so I get it wrong. I picked them to finish outside.
Mate, it's a tough. And imagine Houston will be. What he'll get 6 weeks tonight.
Yep.
So he'll be Gonski. That's a big out for him, isn't it? But they've got. If they've no Treacy and no Darcy and still no Pearce.
They finished second on the ladder, Port. So this could be right now. If you ask me, your house on who's going to win the flag, I'm saying GWS.
But you don't think they can beat the Bulldogs this weekend?
No, but I still think they can win. But they can still.
How can that be?
Well, because they're in Ballarat, Barra. They're not going back to Ballarat. That's for sure.
So what? Bulldogs aren't. They don't live in Ballarat.
No, I know, but that's
Mars
just my view.
Stadium. What is that? Is that named after the chocolate or?
Yes.
Is it?
Yes.
Is serious?
Yes.
You know that, do you?
Yes, I do.
Oh,
What
that's
else is it
ridiculous.
named after? The planet.
Mate, hang on.
Hey, you haven't told us any old stories this week.
Yeah.
Before we get onto the mail.
Shall I try to drudge one up?
Well, not for the sake of it.
Well, how many toddy stories have I told? Have I told the one about the grappa? I've told the grappa story.
You have told the grappa
Have I told
story.
the grappa story?
Yeah. Did you end up on good terms? Because you were a bit worried, weren't you, when he took over at one stage? But before we do, I've made a little sting for you, mate. You know what it reminds
That's
me
like
of?
old Hollywood.
Yeah, it is. Do you remember? Did you get this in WA growing up? If you took a sickie when you're at school, you'd end up watching all sorts of stuff. One of them would be Ivan Hutchinson's midday movie. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah, of course.
You remember that?
Yeah. Name some. I thought you were going to say Guns of Navarone or...
Well, that's the sort of stuff he used to play.
Some of those movies.
And there was obviously only what you call terrestrial TV. There was no Fox or anything like that. So you were stuck with whatever they coughed up. You'd end up watching Donahue, who died today, the American talkback host.
Oh, yeah.
You'd end up watching all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, that's good. So
then you'd segue.
Is this my segment or yours?
You.
I'll tell you one just short story that I might mention tomorrow because...
Sorry, listeners, but I had to do this because I just want the sting.
Toddy, for all he's worth, we're sending off to one of the greats. To be fair, he was a tough man. Harsh but fair, but he would drill you. And
what was the worst drilling you got?
He would use anything to motivate. I mean, I saw him. He got hold of Joe Cormack once, physically in the change rooms, and I think Kevin Cate might have a few stories, but it was all in the trying to get you to be a better player. But I remember a funny one though was when he told me. It was my mum was there and I was there. My mum had come over from Perth, from Canberra to visit me and see how I was going. Mum knows bugger all about footy. And so it was not ideal. I'm thinking, oh, no, this is not good. She's talking to the great Todd about after the game. And she's asking Toddy why I didn't play enough and why I'm not playing and why I'm on the bench and all that sort of stuff. And then Toddy just goes, well, Mrs. Barrich, to tell you the truth, he has been born with a bit of a silver spoon in his mouth. to my mum, right? And he was being brutally honest. He wasn't being rude or anything. He was just saying, he's probably not your run-of-the-mill sort of...
He hadn't done it hard.
Blue-collar, hard bastard from wherever. I'm from Canberra.
Like me from the eastern suburbs of Melbourne,
And my mum absorbs it, and she knows, because she doesn't know a lot about footy, she goes, yeah, you're probably right, John. Well, at least today you got a bit of fresh air and exercise. To the great Todd. It was the first time I've heard Toddy stumped for words.
Did you get some fresh air and exercise?
I did. Well, I was playing.
Yeah, okay.
And he actually couldn't relate to what she was saying. So he was like thinking, she's saying that her son got some fresh air and exercise and that's all that's mattered. That's important. No, mate. It's about winning. And, it's not life and death. It's much more important than that.
It is indeed, mate.
Anyway.
Thank you. We'll roll
Short
out some more in the next few weeks. But now it's time for this.
Saddle up your camel. It's time for the Thirsty Camel mailbag.
Yes, saddle it up. This week's special Suntory 196 lemon, only $49.99 for a 10-pack. We have, as always, Barra, a $50 gift voucher to give away thanks to Thirsty Camel. Get your questions in to quartersandbarra at wanews.com.au. Barra, first one from Andrew. With the benefit of hindsight, how accurate were the following theme songs that were suggested prior to the 2024 season? You'll remember this, Barra, so I'll go through them. Adelaide, the carnival is over. Well, that's pretty accurate. Brisbane.
That's the Seekers.
Okay.
Isn't it?
I don't know. Brisbane, Viva Las Vegas.
Viva.
Well, they could still win it. Carlton hurt so good. Very accurate. Very prescient, Barra.
So this is Presley.
Collingwood, King of the Mountain. Well, not anymore. Essendon, Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy. Fremantle, Under Pressure. Still accurate.
Under Pressure.
Geelong, I'm Still Standing. Absolutely, they are still standing. Gold Coast, I Want to Hold Your Hand. Yeah, that's fair. There's still... Damien Hardwick's gone up there and they've sort of got there but haven't.
Oh, so saying they're not really growing up yet.
That's it.
I want to hold your hand.
Yeah, exactly.
That's Beatles, isn't it?
It is. GWS, Go West.
Go West, yeah.
Hawthorn Treaty, well, of course, relating to the off-field stuff, but I think they might have to reimagine that one for next year. Melbourne Horror Movie, 100%. North Melbourne.
What about horror movie? That's Skyhooks, isn't it?
It is.
Horror movie right there on my TV. Mate, do you watch the Logies
I'm not
this week?
singing with you this week because a few people commented on last week. We actually sang something together and I'm not sure if they were that enamored with my voice.
Is that right?
North Melbourne, bad to the bone. Port Adelaide, living on a prayer. Well, if you did pray for it, you're going okay because they're second on the ladder at the moment. Richmond, What's New, Pussycat. St Kilda, Money for Nothing. Sydney, Man in the Mirror. Western Bulldogs, Take on Me. And West Coast, Tears Are Falling. That was actually quite clever to start the year.
Who was that from?
From Andrew.
Very good, Andrew.
He's a regular. Michelle, High Quarters and Barra, do you think Richmond tanked this season from the Tiger King? I don't think they tanked, but as it is every year, Barra, when you're out of it and you're rebuilding, you put your superstars away for a early sort of exit, some surgery, and you and the benefit of that is you get an early draft pick.
There's no way a new coach, Alamuze, would tank. Yeah, because,
But you've got to
but he
manage
didn't
your
need
list.
to tank. They had so many
It's
injuries.
called list management.
Yeah. Well, I didn't see any of that, did you? I mean, what's his name again?
Tom Lynch.
Shai Bolton. Yeah, but he was bloody injured. You're saying he should play now.
Dusty.
Dusty.
Could have played a bit more.
No one tells Dusty what to do.
No, that's
so,
true.
you know what I mean?
Farewell to him this weekend.
Put Dusty in the corner.
As
all
in,
that.
going to go around on a car and wave to everyone. This one from Chris. Hi, fellas. Oh, yeah, this is just give me a little bit for this one. He's a bit angry, Chris. Please note the content of this email contains an extreme suggestion. I think West Coast members should consider to cease their membership going forward. Why? Strong membership count, i.e. 100,000, which is what the Eagles have got, has seriously papered over the cracks at this club. Whenever West Coast issues are highlighted, it always reverts back to financially strong, huge membership wait list to get a seat. I think we deserve an answer as to how the club has gotten to this position. It seems that the focus has only been on the balance sheet and not on field. Was Trevor Nisbet asleep at the wheel the last 4 years? And he just goes on. Oh, note, I won't give up my membership, but can't think of any other way to give the club a kick up the backside. I understand that historically Eagles' performance has been very good and we're not in a position to complain when clubs like St Kilda have been devoid of success. But come on, we're so B-grade at the moment, we're dragging WA footy down. If we don't turn it around quickly, it'll be too late with Tassie looming. And then he sent me another one that says, hello, gentlemen, I apologise for my previous email. I was reeling from Sunday's performance. And he says, one, with assistants dropping out left, right and centre, is an established coach gettable for the Eagles, i.e. Chris Scott, John Longmire, two examples who have gone past the Quarters 10-year cap. And two, Eagles recruiting manager Matthew Clark, what can we expect from him this off-season? Does a recruitment manager have a relationship with players? His role at Richmond, would he know Baker, Bolton, Graham? As an Eagles fan, I'd like Baker and Bolton just for leadership and depth. Okay, so I won't go on because it's a bit lengthy, but there you go. What do you think? Well, firstly, you never give up your membership. Never do that.
No, and
stick with your club.
You'd be a bit silly when they've won 4 flags in, 37 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and as he said, St Kilda hasn't won since 1966. Perth Footy Club hasn't won since 1977. So we have been spoiled. The Eagles fans have been spoiled.
For sure.
And it has been tough 3 years, and it's going to be another 2-year rebuild, no doubt about that. But can you see an experienced coach coming?
No.
Okay.
Couple here to get through. Mitch from Sorrento says, g'day, gents. Who would you rather coach for the next 5 years out of Richmond and West Coast, and why? Both are going to be very young with a decent clean out of contracted and older players who would make it a tough gig. P.S. Barra. You couldn't go that whole episode without mentioning Ben Cousins. That's a carton. I'm going to say West Coast, mate, because as big as Richmond is when it's up and about, West Coast has the wherewithal. They're very well financially set up. It's a good club. It hasn't been a great club the last 3 or 4 years, but I'm going to say West Coast. The potential is there.
But the Tigers...
They're a big club, but they're starting from further behind where West Coast is at right now. So I'm saying West Coast.
That feels like that, doesn't it? Yeah, so I'm saying Eagles.
Okay,
Jack Viney's contract was a 3-year extension.
3 year, okay.
And the Carltons just released their injury list.
Yep.
Mitch McGovern is a test, hamstring awareness. Adam Assad is a test. Charlie Curnow is a test. Fantasia is a test. And Mackay and Martin 1 week away.
Okay.
So it's not beyond the realms of possibility if they get to the 8 that they start charging home with all these blokes coming back.
No, I'm not convinced. This one from Michael, just bear with me. This is an extraordinary email from Michael. What do you think of the below mega trade that is potentially a win for all teams? Are you ready? Mm-hmm. I am a West Coast fan and would consider the below trade on the basis that Harley Reid was a likely chance not to stay beyond the next 3 years. So you know where this is going. Mm-hmm. With Tassie coming in and the Eagles in desperate need of picks, it may be unlikely they will get a chance to capitalise on Harley Reid with a team like this again. So here he goes. 1, Richmond trade Dan Rioli to Gold Coast for picks 13 and 34. Mm-hmm. Richmond may give a later pick back as well for points to Gold Coast. 2, Richmond then trade Shai Bolton and Liam Baker plus pick 34 to Freo for their first 2 picks, maybe 9 and 10 or 11 and 12, depending on where they finish, plus pick 26. Richmond now have picks 1, 9, 10, 13, 21, 26. Richmond then give here's when it gets interesting, Barra. Richmond then give the Eagles picks 1, 9, 10 or 13 for Harley Reid and late picks. Result, Dockers get 2 players in the prime of their career plus maintain a first rounder and second rounder. Richmond get Harley Reid plus maintain first rounder and second rounders. Eagles will then have 5 first-round picks in this year's draft, considering their current pick 3 and the likely trade of Barrass. Again, this deal would only be done on the proviso the Eagles, though Reid was unlikely to stay. I don't think that you're going to give Richmond are going to give the Eagles picks 1, 9, 10 or 13 for Harley Reid. You're not going to get 3 first-rounders.
Because you know what will happen? They'll get those picks if they did. So they got 1, 9 and 10. They go, it's this. Yeah, so let's give them all up for one bloke. No, we're not doing that. No,
but a really interesting email. Thanks for sending.
Bloody good thinking, though.
Yeah. Last one. G'day, boys. I love this email. Thought I'd combine myself and Quarters' 2 great loves, footy and Seinfeld, by naming footy personalities who would fit the role of Seinfeld characters. These are mainly based on personalities rather than looks. Ross Lyon, Jerry Seinfeld. Luke Beveridge, George Costanza. Lou Richards, the late Lou Richards, as Frank Costanza. No, I don't think he's grumpy enough. You need someone grumpy.
Luke Beveridge was...
I reckon Luke Beveridge is better as Frank Costanza.
Yeah.
Craig Hutchison as Newman. Hello, Newman. Lee Matthews as the High Talker. Mick Moldas as the Soup Nazi. Eddie Maguire as George Steinbrenner. And last but not least, Adrian Barrach as Jay Peterman. The fashion guru, Barra.
Isn't he batting for the other team?
No.
Oh, he isn't? Okay, sweet.
What, you mean he's not Catholic?
Yeah,
No.
exactly. No, not Catholic.
I'll let you add to the list. I just couldn't think of a good Kramer or a Lane.
Yeah, I was going to say Kramer's the
one.
one.
So can I be Kramer? Can I be Kramer?
You got a little bit of Kramerish.
No, I'm Kramer.
You don't sort of...
Well, Chris Robinson from our sports department reckons I'm becoming more like Kramer every day.
Is that a conscious thing or subconsciously soaking
both.
into you?
Oh, it's both.
But you don't enter the room like the way Kramer does.
Crashing through a door. But I'd like to be Kramer. And Elaine, I don't know. Daisy Pearce? Who's Elaine? Can you think of anyone? Anyway, it's a great email. And
Could Rick Arden be Kramer?
Oh, he'd love to be Jerry, I think.
Oh, Jerry.
He would love to be Jerry.
He fancies himself as a bit of a Jerry.
He does, I reckon.
Hutchie is Newman. That's good. Hello,
So
Newman.
Rick's away at the moment, right?
Yeah.
He's in Hawaii.
Is he?
Because my Seinfeld list, he sent us a photo of him in Hawaii.
Hang on.
Because Newman,
you got a
of course,
WhatsApp thing.
Newman, WhatsApp for our Seinfeld quiz team, and Newman,
And he posts things from his holiday.
because of outside the Hawaiian postal depot, because Newman always wanted to go to Hawaii, and be the mailman in Hawaii, because the air is so thick you don't even have to lick the stamps.
Does he say? Then Rick is saying, "Look, boys,
I'm
guys, I'm
outside
here.
the Hawaiian post office. Yeah.
Newman couldn't get here,
Yeah, I'm there,
and I'm here.
That's it. That's what he does.
There's a link. Oh my God, that's
Great,
brilliant.
isn't it? I love it. I love it.
You mad, you people?
Yeah, we are.
How much of this stuff goes on? Do you look actively look for things to do that can reference Seinfeld and send him to that WhatsApp?
I don't, but everyone else does, and I would if I was back in New York. I would, because I do all the Seinfeld things.
And the show about nothing. What do they call it? The show about.
It's show about everything, mate. You have been listening to Quarters and Barra. We have been brought to you by Tab Touch. Got the touch? Download the Tab Touch app today. Chances are you're about to lose. For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au. Thanks, Barra.
Good on you,
Thank
buddy.
you for listening. I cannot wait for Thursday, where we will pull apart. Can you believe it's round 24 already? But what is amounting to be an incredibly exciting final round of the season with so much on the line. We will talk to you then.